It's been such a long time since we did this. I don't really know what we're doing anymore.
I mean, to be fair, have we ever really know what we're doing?
Well, I mean, the show, it's more like a SHIT SHOW. It more so started. See, I had a plan. You know what? I'm going to start on the offensive. I'm going to come for Kelly. So the original goal was like, okay, we'll recap, that's like a, watch along or after show style, a show, Difficult People, which was a Hulu show. So it was like, okay, episode, watch, recap. That was the format. And then we were done because we watched all 3 seasons, which we did a great job. But then it was like, what's next? And then we went to all these different places. We talked about, we both have episodes. We talked about throwing up. Remember?
Only because I actually threw up, which was horrible.
No, but I did too. Remember? Also, we had and then I spelled your name wrong. And, I spelled Kelly's name Kelly. But you, like, I thought that was not that big of a deal, but you were really, like, PO'd. So it's Kellie, which I've never spelled wrong. It was just to autocorrect. You didn't believe me?
No, I know. It usually autocorrects to that.
Yeah. So, anyways, the reason I said I'm going to be on the offensive is say, like, we're done with that recap. I don't even know what's in my mind right now. We were done with that recap, and then I was like, oh, let's pick up another show to like watch along. And then you had all these wonderful ideas, and it was more like, let's go here, let's go there, let's go everywhere. And it went well until it didn't. So I blame the lack of topic for today's episode on you. How's that sound?
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem.
Oh, you happen to like Taylor Swift. I was going to tell you, because me and Kelly would text about Taylor Swift. She really likes her. And I realized
respect her and I appreciate I appreciate her.
I don't like the song, the one where I'm the problem, it's me. I think that was one of my main.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like that. What is that? Tell me, how do you describe what that song was about and what was it supposed to mean?
Well, for me personally, the way that I take the song in is that it's coming face to face with your own, like taking responsibility and accountability for your part in things. Like realizing that when good or bad things happen or when you get frustrated, like sometimes it's your fault. Like you are your own problem. You're getting in your own way. And I think that that's a thing that I would say everybody has a problem with. It takes some time and growth and whatever to actually, stand up and say, I made these mistakes. This is, I can only blame, so many people for so long, and you got to take responsibility for your stuff, I don't know. That's the way that I feel about the song.
Yeah, for me, in terms of her, she's lovely and great and all these things, I'm more like Shake It Off. Like that was a good, that one I liked.
Yeah.
But I didn't like the I've got to take accountability. I'm the problem. Who said I'm the problem? What if you're in a room?
I feel like maybe that's the problem right there.
No. See, that's a terrible message. What if you're in a room? Okay, one time I was at a job and the guy, coworker who I was a dear friend with for a long time, and still, but not as close. One time he was like, oh yeah, you were in the room and then you were having a difference of opinion with me and I just wanted to come out here and talk to you about it. I says, okay, cool, let's talk about it. And then he goes, oh, actually, you know this friend. Well, you don't know this friend. You've met this friend. Anyway, who cares? Yeah. And he comes outside to talk to me. He's like, oh, I just want to say like da 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 da. So we said your thing and my thing, and it's fine. And then he goes, yeah, everybody in the room thought like you were like so like whatever about it and like frustrated. I was like, you think I care? Like, I don't really care if 7 different, he was trying to, do you get what I'm saying, Kelly? He was trying to utilize the fact that my thing is this, if you're going to say you're right, and it's not a right or wrong, but if you're going to say your points, this other person, say your points. Don't say 7 other people, 8 other people, 9 other people in the room also were like, oh gosh, Ronnie is just really, like frustrated or something. Why did I bring that up? That has nothing to do with that damn song.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about taking, accountability, or somebody trying to point out that you are the problem in a situation where you're just voicing an opinion and it's not. I mean, everybody's opinion is different. If you're a little bit more passionate about yours than someone else, it could come across as frustrated. You know,
Oh, okay.
I
So
know I do sometimes, when I get really kind of into something, I, get a little loud and, really like get that point across. So, as I'm getting a little older and hopefully wiser, I'm trying to kind of tone that down a little bit, where I take into consideration, you got to read the room, right? Like that's kind of my motto right now, going into places. You got to read the room, look around, see, kind of the people that you're dealing with, because you can't always act one way everywhere. It just doesn't work.
yeah, no, you are right about that. It should be a case by case situation. But yes, now I kind of remember, even though it's not, it's like in my head, and then every time I try to explain it to you because you're so smart, I feel like I'm just like failing miserably. But my point was, he wanted to be like, okay, let's talk about it, and we were totally great. I just didn't like the notion of like, well, everybody in that office, in the particular office we were at, they all thought the same as me. I'm like, I don't care about. I just need, if you want your points to be made, just make your points.
Right.
And I felt like he was trying to do the, well, all of these, maybe there was, how many people were in the office? Like 5 people. They all agreed with him, is what he was saying. And I'm like, I mean, that's okay, but I'm talking to you. And I feel like it was, I
Yeah.
guess that's what that song, even though it has nothing to really do with anything, that's
But
what
it's
that's.
interesting, right? So just because that person felt like you were getting frustrated, like what does it matter if you were, if you weren't? If you're having a
Mm,
debate, like that shouldn't matter. If you're
yeah.
talking about something, because each person can have their own point of view. And that's what's kind of so, that's what's so funny. It's always got to be sides, right? It's,
Hmm.
or people always have to point out something you're doing wrong, or the way that it comes across, or like things like that. So I always find it so interesting that collectively that's just kind of how we've been preconditioned for some reason, is to always
Mm.
point something out that's
You and I's
always more
friendship
negative.
you and I's friendship is not like that. What I like about our friendship is like, if Kelly or myself has a difference of opinion, it's just like we kind of go there, and like we don't have to fully agree, but it's like, oh, cool, I got your point. And again, now I'm really so much trying. I feel like it'll come to me later, but my point of like that guy giving his wonderful points, because the thing is, he gave good points, but I
Yeah.
also did too, and I thought it was like perfect. That's the end. And so when he had to like just give another little nudge of like, well, because all the people in that office, they all thought the same thing as me. I was like, he tried. When I first heard that song, I can't believe we're spending this much time on Taylor Swift. When I first heard that song, I'm the problem, it's me, I was like, that reminds me of when he made it as if,
You.
okay, you're not taking you're the problem. And I was like, I don't care if 7 people disagree. I just care about what, if it's you and I. Like
Mhm.
the number shouldn't matter. It could be 20 people in the office and me be on the other opposing point of view.
Well,
It
it
just
kind of
means
boils,
it means all 20 of you are wrong.
well, it kind of boils down to like, are you the asshole because you got passionate about whatever you were talking about, and 7 people thought you were mad?
Mm,
Like, what does that make you an asshole? Because you were sticking to your points, you were getting a little bit passionate about it, you were just kind of, you didn't agree, they gave good points, you gave good points, and it doesn't matter. It's not a, you're not trying to win anything, but then you've got all these people that are judging you because of the way that you're voicing your points. It's,
yeah, it was not that serious. You're right. It was it just connected me to that song always, because
yeah,
it was the concept of like the win, for if there was a win or a lose, which there isn't in a conversation, especially somebody you care about. This was a coworker that I really had known a
yeah,
long time, or still, and really adore and respect. But it was the notion of like his last, like, let me let you know, is the, you need to take accountability, like almost like he wrote the song. You're the problem, not me, like something like that is what I felt. So when I first heard that song, I was like, oh, that's not my favorite. Just because
well,
of that.
no, it's interesting because I feel like that's what it points out, is like people looking in the mirror and kind of looking at yourself and seeing like, where have you been the problem? Like,
Mhm.
where have you, because you know what they say, you point a finger at somebody, there's 4 fingers pointing back at you. It's like, where, um
I feel like you're siding with Taylor in
I,
this a
no,
little.
I'm not. I just find I
Defensive much?
I'm not at all. I've gotten to a point, and gradually more so over the years, where I can stand up and say, you know what, I messed up. This was my fault. Maybe not right away.
Mhm.
Maybe not, immediately after. But depending on what's going on in the situation, I'm getting more to a point where I can sit up and say, you know what, I know I was being irrational, or I can the other way too and say, no, you know what, I am not at fault here. Like, I think
Okay,
you need to turn around and take a look and reevaluate this situation, and let's revisit.
let's talk about our difficult podcasters, brought to you by Viridian Row. Let's take a look at that for a second, and I got one more thing I'm going to ask you,
Uh-huh.
and then we'll keep going. Now, it's been a while, but yes, brought to you by the amazing Viridian Row. Oh, there it is. I thought there was like a song or a jingle or something like that. Anyways, viridianrow.com, where creativity never goes out of style. So if you want to pick up some really awesome finds, both like t-shirts and what is it? What is the word? Artisan, right?
Yeah,
Is that the word?
there
Yeah.
is there are artisan crafts, and also new resale and vintage stuff. So take it.
Yeah, it's real fun. So support them. They're all over the social media, of course. Viridian Row. Viridian also is the particular color of green, which I didn't know. It's
Mhm,
like you knew, but you didn't know. But Viridian is a really pretty green, first of all,
mhm.
and also a really wonderful name, Viridian.
I like it.
Okay, so this is the last thing, and it's gonna make it sound like, and then after that, it's all to Kelly, the queen. Okay, so this is gonna make it sound like I need to always be right. No, I'm wrong a lot, clearly. On the struggle bus, this is the SHITSHOW. It is whatever. But so you've gathered that, Kelly? I it's gonna sound like I think I need to always be right. All I'm saying is what you said a second ago is like, oh, it's a great chance to figure out what you've done and how you could be better. That's how you sounded to me.
Why do I sound like an after school special?
You can do it, like that's how you were very motivating. You were like, you gotta dig deep and see your errors and become better, which is great, and I feel that.
Mm,
So here's what I'm saying. One
mhm.
time I had another friend that you also know. Kelly and I have known each other for 20 years. We know everybody.
Yeah.
Um, so this one particular friend, I won't say what the issue was coming into a little bit of hard times on a certain thing.
Mhm.
Now I'm gonna tell you this, Kelly. I'm okay with a self-help book. I'm okay with anything, getting your body in shape, getting your mind in shape. Like I like all that generally. I thought it was a little chicken shit for this particular person who was going through a little bit of a struggle on no fault of their own. And so where I motivationally actually disagreed with them was this person was like, and maybe they thought I was going through the same thing, which I was not. Um, they were like, "Oh, here's a book," and it was one of these books like where it's like you got to go like change up your mindset or whatever. And he was like, "Oh, this book is good for you too." And I was like, "I don't need it." And secondly, you don't even need it. Now you can use it in the regards of check out that book every time. I know I'm being vague with the information, but my point is going to self-help just because you're not moving in the right direction. I don't know if I always agree with that because
Were you
it
offended by that?
no, it has nothing to do with me. It's more about me being motivational for him.
Oh,
I was telling him, you're one of the best to ever do it in whatever the particular thing he was doing. I support you. It's just like you're coming across a little bad luck and bad timing. That's all. That's
right.
all he was going through. And I wanted to be like I wasn't ever going to shun like I said, I think self-help, get your mind, body, soul. I'm always for that. That's like every day I feel like very confident in that. And I think that is good for everybody. But don't go to that just because things didn't go right. And I remember being like, you know how amazing you are? Like, I don't want you. How would you, first of all, I gave you a lot there. How do you take that? Do you take that as I'm being very motivating to him? Or do you think I should have heeded his information and also been like, oh, let me read that book, you know?
That's a tough one because I understand where you're coming from because, and granted, I have no idea what you're specifically talking about. So
Well,
just
let's go for you. Let's go for you. You are a small business owner, right? We talk about that, and Kelly is you've been in publicity and all these tenacious, wonderful things. Just because you're falling short at a specific time, I don't think you need to like sell yourself short and lose your dignity either, and be like, I
right.
need to go change everything about what I gotta reevaluate. It's like, no, you don't. It's just a bad particular time. Things have fallen out of luck.
Well,
Opportunity comes. Yeah.
yeah, if we're going to talk about, if we're switch it to me in that instance, right. So owning your own business, and those of you that do, it's not for the faint of heart. It's hard, especially when you have no idea what you're doing. So I went from one industry that I was in for, 15 years that I, really had a good handle on it, to doing something I had no idea what I was doing. So it's all trial and error, right? So we had an idea, my sister and we started a business together, which is fantastic. Love her. It's been great. But where I feel like I messed up in it is that I didn't really have enough confidence in what we were doing that was original, that I kind of fell in line with what other people were doing when we opened our shop to kind of fit in, and I should have never done that. And what it showed me was I wasted money that I shouldn't have wasted on that stuff. But when people were coming into shop, and as they still do, they tend to buy our personal creations and styles and things I curate and all that, more so than
Right.
any of the stuff I was trying to have because other people had it.
Yeah.
Which gave me, just kind of reinforced that, oh wait, I kind of okay, people are getting it, people like it and whatever. And
Right.
it stems from, other stuff. Like it's hard to be, it's scary. It's scary to
Yeah.
put yourself out there. It's scary to put your art out there. It's
Well, I
scary
think
to, do that. And at when it starts to not go the way you think it's going to go, and you make all these adjustments that aren't the right adjustments, when you should have just done the cliche thing and followed your heart and believed in yourself and all that, that's not really that easy to do. Then I think you get to that point where it's like, well, maybe don't know anything, and and then depending on who's in your ear telling you
yeah.
stuff, or you don't, or maybe you should do this, or maybe you should do that, or I don't really know about that. Really, is that really what you want to do? And all the things you hear. So then it goes into, well, maybe I do need a self-help book or something, like something to fix it.
See, our conversations are not good just because I say I feel what I feel,
Yeah.
but from that perspective of like, because the other layer that I was receiving from what you said was that I know the career that you were in before and how much of a success you were there. So it's almost like I have such a hard and other jobs too. Like I've seen Kelly through a lot of work advancement, so it's hard for me to like ever think no, she don't got it going on. And so when you do fall into some luck situations where maybe it didn't go the way you expected, I am totally on board with like you saying, oh, I'm going to learn this and learn that or try this and pivot. Yeah, we should all pivot. I just don't know that I, outside looking in terms of supporting my friend, want to sign off, not sign off, but like
it's a failure startup.
Like, well, and support the concept of like, oh yeah, you should try this and you should read this book and you should change up everything, which is always good to like pivot. That is the truth. I will say that part of it. What I'm saying is why at one point, if there are not everything, but a couple things we stand confidently in, there's the question. What's the problem in standing confident in the things that we know we're good at? Now it'll be different if it's yourself, because then it's like self-fulfilling. But if it's me with my friend and my friend saying you should check out this book, it's gonna reshape how you think about certain things. I'm like, got it, and I will read it just be for I think you could learn a thing or two. But I also feel like if Kelly is coming across a situation, I don't think you should shift everything. I don't think you should pivot everything. I think you come to a certain stage in whatever it is that you're doing where you're like, no, you know what? I'll pivot here and I'll make adjustments here, but like this, I'm good at. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, do you get what I'm saying, Kelly? Like, there are a couple things that I don't know if you should be wishy-washy about.
Right.
Now,
well, if I was still doing PR, 100% I'd be on that train. but I also had
Oh, because publicity you've done for a long time.
I kind of already knew a
Okay.
little bit about it. This, what I'm doing now, no idea. No idea.
Okay, that's
And I
fair.
decided one day, hey, I'm going to do this and open up a
Yeah.
store. And then I had one. So,
Well,
but
that's my bias.
I'm a doer. Like if I say I'm
Hmm.
going to do something, I do it. I said I wanted to do this and
Yeah,
I do that. If I
you
wanted to
have.
do this, I want to do. So you know what I mean? Like I'm not a person that is. I go and try it because what's the worst
Mhm.
that can happen? It doesn't work out and you start over and you do something else, right? This has been the scariest thing because I literally have no idea what I'm doing. I mean, sort of, but not really. Like I have an idea from the back end of it
Mhm.
with other brands, but never anything trying to do my own. And when you're trying to do 700 jobs on your own, it's a lot different. And I look at everything a little different, but also when my friends are trying to be supportive and all that, and I have this friend, like I love her to death. I have this friend, and this is gonna maybe be on the other things, or maybe I'm just an asshole. I don't know, but like, and she's great, and we've been talking about this, and I said what we're doing is we're closing our shop down, the physical shop. We're just putting everything online, and we are looking to build a space. It's more of like a creative collective space. That's what we want to do. So I'm talking to my friend about it, but because it's something that you know what? I'm not even gonna pretend to know why she said the thing that she said, and I don't even know why I was offended by it. But
You're like, I don't know. I didn't even know I was her friend anymore. Now.
no, but she works for this company, and she's like, "Oh, hey, I can get you a job if you need one."
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Cool, okay." And it offended me in a little bit because I feel like a lot of times when people don't really or can't fathom what you're doing or
Mm.
the hardships and they don't want you to struggle the same way you don't want your friend to struggle, whatever,
Yeah.
the things that they say they don't realize come off in maybe a little bit of a hurtful way or whatever. It just made it seem like my business isn't real to her.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like if
Yeah.
I need a job
Well, and
because
that's what's funny is because I'm on the polarizing other
yeah,
side. I have the bias with you seeing all your success from
right,
like I
right.
said, we knew each other in 2003 originally.
Mhm.
So I'm more like anything she gets involved with, even it'll take some time and she'll,
Yeah.
bump some bruises and hit her head a little bit in terms of what she's trying to achieve. Like I'm more like, no, this is Kelly. Like you don't understand. My friend Kelly, she will figure it out. Whereas this
But
other friend was shortchanging you based on like you want to go the secure route, the safer route, the
right. And
route
I
that you
don't
would
think it
bet
was
on.
anything malicious. I don't think there was any harm there.
Yeah.
I think it was just for that. You want security. You want, we're getting older. It's like, you're not a kid anymore to be like chasing these dreams. And she didn't say any of that. It was simply like, hey, if you need to in, I
But
got
it
you. You know
affected
what
you
I
in
mean?
that way.
But because a lot of times people that are closest to me, they kind of feel that
Hmm.
way. It's like, it's not real. It's like a hobby.
Mm.
And it irritates me. It
Well,
irritates
that's why you asked. That was an interesting question you asked me
me.
when I was telling you that this particular friend said, "Oh, I got this book. It's going to help you like reshift a lot of the ways you think about certain things and in business and
Mhm.
success and all these things." And you had said, "Oh, did it bug you that he recommended that?" No, it didn't because I felt like where I was at, what I was, if I was struggling with something, it wasn't on the basis of I needed like pivoting is good and reshifting is good, but
Totally.
sometimes just staying the course I think is good too. So that's just for the record, like that's really what I'm trying to say is that it's not necessarily like just because it ain't, but maybe I'm wrong, but just because it's not going completely, I think some things you can like just continue on that path. Like there's got to be a couple things, maybe not when you're in your early 20s, obviously we're well beyond 35 now and even 40.
Hush your mouth.
Oh yeah, we said we're not going to promote how our ages anymore, but no, I'm 43 years old and I feel like there are certain things that it's actually a better benefit for me to kind of like really say this is what I'm good at or this is what I need to work on, not necessarily like, oh, change everything. So yeah, when that song, the problem it's me, I was like, excuse me,
But I will
excuse me.
tell you now when you listen to it, maybe think about it from that other perspective where it's just like taking account, and it doesn't have to be negative.
Mhm.
Just because you're the problem of things, it could be a good problem. It doesn't
Well,
have to
yeah,
be a
most of the like you said, most of the opinions, especially when they come from your friends, they
Mhm,
are in a really wonderful place. That friend, it's weird because what he or she
mhm.
said to you, I think you said it was a she, what she had said to you really kind of knocked you off because it was like, does she perceive me as not me not knowing what I'm doing or succeeding or the safe route? But the reality is it made you dig a little deeper. So there was kind of a benefit because the person did care about you.
Oh no, for sure. And that's what I'm saying. Like it it just kind of made me laugh in that, huh. But
Yeah.
I mean, I might need it. Like she's not, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not a bad thing by
Yeah.
any means. It's just kind of the way people take things when you don't really on both sides
Yeah.
understand understand the lifestyles of each. And I've always had such a different lifestyle from most of my friends growing up. And so it always just seems like it's not quote unquote real because it's not conventional. And whenever
Yeah.
you have something that's a little unconventional, it can be, people see it in different ways.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, it's just like it's just an interesting thing. It really was kind of one of those things that just kind of made me, kind of for a second.
Right. Well,
And
and that's a
but again, like no shade. I don't think it was bad. I don't think she meant any harm. I think she was just trying to be real. That's like,
mhm.
you tried this. If it's not working out, here's another option. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I think wrapping up here, and yes, yet again, big shout out to veridianrow.com, showing love to difficult podcasters. The one thing is consistency we've fallen out of a little bit, but in terms of like, we really continue to push forward, which is kind of what I was saying a bit ago. But I think it is really a fine line. I think anything you do, you want to be as much as you can be an expert in that. So
Mhm.
that's number one. And yeah, it may sound like I'm more so in the space of like that sort of like delusional self-confidence. I think some of it is necessary because if you don't believe when you got to go up all these you have these roadblocks that you encounter and you're looking up the hill like, oh my god, I'm not gonna make it through. You
Yeah.
do need to believe in yourself. So that's really all I'm trying to say. And like I said, this particular friend was that I was giving you the story about, he's so amazingly talented in like 7 different things. And I was like, oh, don't shortchange yourself. And I
Yeah.
just realized, I'm like, does that make it sound like I act like we as people should all just know it all? I don't think that. But I just do want to encourage my friends that, like, yeah, step it up, but also like know that, it's just timing and just stay the course and you're amazing. So it
You
really
have
did come from a good
a
place.
conversation where you asked questions, where you asked him questions like, why did he feel that this was necessary at this point?
Say it again.
Did you ask any questions? Like ask like, well, what makes you feel like this is a necessary pivot for you right now? What is it specifically that you feel like is not going the way you want?
Mm. I think he might have had his own urgencies for certain reasons, which totally
Ask,
makes sense. Huh?
did you ask him?
Not really. I was more just
And I'm not
motivated.
even like trying to be, this is the thing I think we all forget to do. Because
Mhm.
when we're giving it, I'm just as guilty of it as anybody else. It's like when we're giving advice, and the only reason why I've thought about this recently is for situations like this,
Mhm.
because I feel like I've got like 9 lives. I'm starting like my ninth, seventh grade life already. I've done so many different things, but I think that's one thing we forget in friendships is we forget to ask questions. Like it's so easy to like spew out all this advice, right? But we're not asking them questions on what we're giving them advice for. So
Yeah.
maybe if there's a question, ask a question in there and then understand why he feels this way. And then that way, when you're giving that advice,
Mm.
the points that he's worried about,
Yeah.
it kind of goes in and he's not just feeling like, you know, people are just talking at me, they're not getting it. Because sometimes I get a little frustrated with that with people that I talk to about what I'm doing because it's just like nobody gets it because they're not doing it and it's not their fault they don't get it.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? They're not in it. They don't know. And I get, because when I get really stressed out, I have such a short temper that I've been working on for years. But when I get really stressed, I just like, I'm like, what's that little cartoon where he gets like his face all red and then like slips out of his head like that? I get like that sometimes, but then it like shorts out right after. But I feel like it would mean so much more to me, and it does, when people ask me questions. Well, what are some things that you're struggling with? Why do you feel like this? What are you doing to fix it? Aside from just complaining about it. Like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about, like, that's when I need that real advice. Like, that's what I need.
And at the end of the
blanket of advice,
oh, for sure.
It's great to get the pump up. It's great when your friends are motivating and all of that stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. But asking a couple questions can go a long way.
At the end of the day, I think it's like, in those conversations, like you said, with your friends, or me with you and you with me, because we of course are very supportive of each other, and we get to do this great podcast together, difficult podcasters, but have our own successes and slight failures. But like, you're right, it is more like that conversation. I mean, I always say this too, like, it needs to be nuanced. It can't just be this or that. But in terms of that, thinking about this one particular friend that I was very much motivating, or like very like, you got this, you got this. On one hand, he should probably take a little bit of that, like, you know what, it's a hard time right now, but I forgot who I was. Like, I forgot my skill set. I forgot that I am somebody who can do a good job. Things are just not working right now. And then on the flip side, I could probably take the encouragement that he was giving, which was, hey, I read this book, it really did something for me, you could check it out. And I think
totally,
that's like, when we started Difficult Podcasters, it was more of the the grumpy show. And I think now it's more just I don't want to label it as like it's the struggle bus, but like sometimes there are little challenges that you got to overcome. And I think like we or you, maybe it's more you than me, are giving that really great chance of having these good dialogues around it, and I mean, we always say nuance. I was doing a self-deprecating comment with another long-term friend of mine, and she had she had sort of cut off the conversation with that whole like, you can, and I'm like, oh, I was just self-deprecating as humor. I don't have low self-confidence in this. So it's just what I'm saying. It's like, it doesn't need to be all or nothing. Like, I was just making a joke. Like, the blanket, like, you got this, buddy. It's like, okay.
That's what I mean. Like, get to the like, make sure that you're listening to the conversation, to asking questions, so that way those kind of comments get in the right place.
Yeah,
because that's the thing too. And being a communications professional for however many years I was, like, communication is a thing nobody masters. Nobody can figure out how to do it. It's the hardest thing to do. It doesn't matter how professional you think you are in it. Nobody really is. But it's, the more that I am reflecting in my 40s and reassessing and all these things, it's so many, there's so
Are
many.
you in your 40s?
I'm not.
You look so effervescent. I would have never known. All right, Kelly.
But you got to remember, there's a million ways to say the same thing, right? So when you're asking questions and you have something to say, then when you get the answer back, then you can, tailor what you want to say that fits in the right place.
And the last thing on communication is knowing when to wrap it up. I think this was a great conversation. One of the things that I had struggled with, or we had struggled with, because we all have our own schedules, is like, I felt like when we would do an episode, it needed to be so much had to be packed into that. And honestly, this new phase is like, I want to just have fun with Kelly. It's our chance to catch up and create a really fun show. And Difficult Podcasters is here, and you get all the fun on the way. But communication 101 is it's time to say goodbye. I guess. Right? I don't know.
No, totally. But I love to hear from people. So I want to hear your stories about when you felt somebody wasn't hearing you, or when you gave advice, or when you're like Ronnie and you're not wrong, they're wrong. We can all have an opinion, or whatever it is. Like, tell us your stories about communicating with
I'm
your
tuning
friends.
you out right this second. That wraps up the show. Kelly, you are amazing as usual. Shout out to our sponsor, ViridianRow.com. Definitely support that. Patreon.com/RandomlyRJ Jr. And Kelly, I guess I will talk to you on the next one. Bye-bye.